It is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves. Shakespeare's. Hello, hello. Welcome. How about we take a trip today with Colton Lee Steele from Mark Carnelley's book, The Omega Chronicles. So let's get started. Totally going out on a ledge here, or on the limb. I'm not sure if it's going to work out, but I've prepped my canvas. I started it last night. My floors are not too happy right now. What I did is, using a 20 by 24 inch canvas, 1.5 deep, I put down Elmer's clear glue, and top of that, I placed silicone mats, sized them out, leveled them off, smeared it all together, tried to get it as smooth as I could, and then put another layer of Elmer's clear glue on top of that. I wanted to create a textured effect, somewhat chaotic, and I'm hoping as the video continues on and we continue talking, you'll understand why this is happening. I also, on top of that, once it dried earlier this morning, I put down some satin enamel in black, and that was mixed with just water to a consistency. The consistencies are a little off, and I purposely wanted it that way this morning because we're creating chaos. All right, so what I want to do now is put an additional layer on top of that. And what I've done is I've mixed sort of a purple, silver color to my cup, and I added some blue in a navy metallic blue. And again, I'm going for a very chaotic look to this piece, to this composition. So I just want to go in and put that on. Completely random. How's everyone doing today? You're okay? Mark Carnelley writes some amazing stories that dare you to think outside the box, pretty much as I'm doing here, and yet you're not. And Colton Lee Steele in The Omega Chronicles by Mark Carnelley takes us on one fantastic journey. Here he is, a very expert jet pilot. He had been hurt, injured, while he was in Antarctica, and was in an induced coma. When he awakens, he comes to discover that everyone is dead. There's no one around. And the world as he knew it, his environment, has been completely annihilated. I'm going in with some metallic. Again, just randomly adding that on. If we just take a look back at what was going on with the world and Colton Lee in the novel, we have an understanding that the government had a large play in what happened. They had known 55 years earlier that a catastrophic dust destructive force was going to overrun the world, and the world would not be as it had been previous. And of course, they're not going to tell the population because they don't want to create chaos. people just trying to figure out or kill one another off. At any rate, the government has a big role in that. But as we move forward, 1962, 55 years later, here's Colton, awakened from his induced coma to find a world no longer. We follow his expert pilot ability as he searches for a place to call home. Omega Chronicles is actually a story about perseverance and the true grit to help us on our journeys, because life will always find a way, as Carnelley so profoundly states in that book, the Omega Chronicles. Imagine waking up to find a catastrophic event that's killed everyone and destroyed the world you knew. Well, that's exactly what happened to him. What would you do if you're on top of the world one minute and crashing the next? And we've all seen those injustices in our world, sadly. And what would we do to change things if we could? Just some thought to mull around in our heads. All right, I want to tilt it a little bit and get some of that paint to commingle, share. Let's see if it does. I'm not going for that perfect look on the edges. Again, totally taking it to a level that I'm not sure if anyone's done this before. And if they haven't, I'll be the first. Like Colton Lee. There's another really great character that Mark Carnelley, awesome author, creates, and that's Marshall Bellows. In the first book I read by him, The Time Detective, and that actually takes place in 1956. And here we have, well, there's some real strange things happening on my canvas right now. Let's stop for a second, just so I can see what's going on. It's really creating chaos, and that's okay. There's a lot of paint on this canvas. It's gotten rather heavy, and initially I was going to resin this piece, so I thought it would, oh, there it goes. It is heavy. So let's see if I can get it to where it will stay for me. So Marshall is caught between two worlds. He's a crime fighter, living and fighting a perverted killer. And is he, as we read, try to find out what's going on with Marshall in the Omega Chronicles by Mark Carnelley, is he to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner? Or does he take on that extra challenge? I'm just kind of going over some of the edges here. I do want some to peek through, but not quite yet. Maybe I'm going to sort of touch up the sides. There is some of that silicone netting or meshing that's peeping out, peering out through there, peeking out, as it were. And that's okay. I'm trying to find another world, another realm like Colton, but I digress. I truly recommend that you grab the Omega Chronicles first. You don't need to, because they are independent or read-alongs, but if you want to engage in the idea of transversing the constraints of time, I assure you, you will not be disappointed. I want to switch off my gloves, do a hide and seek with those under there. And let's see what further chaos we can create. All right, so I talked a little bit about what's going on with the canvas itself and what my mayhem, chaotic, dust destroying apocalyptic world is happening today. All right, so I did use a professional, Pouring Masters pearlescent mixing effects, which is a medium, but I combined that with water. A lot of colors in my palette this morning. I have a Bone White by Pouring Masters. Again, all Pouring Masters for the most part. Havana Red, a Baby Blue. I did get a tripod, so let's hope it works. Navy Blue, a Lemon Yellow, again, Pouring Masters. Grass Green, try to bring the colors of the world or other worlds and what those might be. A Romance Novel Red, I love the sound of that. It looked real pretty. It's almost a burgundy color. Lemon Lime, some ready poured silver, and a metallic blue. And I love these. These are wonderful to pour out. All right. I'm using this bottle that has a needle at the top, which is almost like going to the doctor's or the phlebotomist when you're having blood drawn. Not a pleasant experience some days, especially if you have those who are digging in as if there's no tomorrow. All right, so what I've also done, I want to create puddles. As I said, I'm doing multi-dimensional technique here. So I've layered off white and black to create some puddles. And I want to pour out and just show you what's going on here. So I'm using a pearlescent white mixed with just water and a jet black, which is also mixed with water. So I'm just going to layer it out, do it over the canvas. If it falls, that's good. Not exactly what I'm going for, but it's okay. It's chaos. Some days it's good. Good chaos. Just layering. Coming in with the black. I'm going heavy on the black. I wanted to make it dark because some of the colors that I'm introducing are more vibrant and I don't want them, I do want a little vibrancy sort of peeking through because there's always something good even in our darkest moments that shines through. All right, going in with the black again. White, I'm anchoring it. I'm noticing the white is just a tad thicker than my black, which is why it's sinking. The black is lighter here. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And hopefully it will work out this morning. Just gonna go one more layer. Just a little less on the black. Put it over there. And this time I'm actually gonna drizzle in a ribbon pour sort of effect to the top of that black. And then we're going to go in and do some puddles. Starting. I'll put one over here. Has a ghost-like eeriness about it right there. And that's just the way the paint is flowing out. There are some cell structures going on here. I can't imagine being alone in a world. Can you imagine waking up and everything you knew is no longer there? I kind of wonder why me. In the book, the Omega Chronicles, part of it, well, a lot of it actually just leaves this sense of what if, what would I do, and could things have been done differently? Should they have been done differently by the government? The government, I suppose, in its wisdom, decided not to share because of, if they knew, they'd share the news or share that scientific phenomena of this catastrophic dust cloud coming and having the potential to destroy the world. I'm imagining people would not respond very well. Right, there's a lot more black in here than I had thought. Again, it took over, but some of the white is starting to peek through, and that's okay because we're going to totally disrupt our universe this morning. And hope Colton Lee Steele from the Omega Chronicles by Carnelley finds a home in a world that is or has been destroyed. I'm going in for a ribbony effect here. Why not? I'm going to bring some out. Just kind of letting the paint do its thing. I'm going to cover some of that peekaboo mesh that's coming through. A lot of it may be tilted off, and that's fine with me as well. How's everyone doing this morning? It isn't as cold today as it was yesterday. The sun is bright, and that's always a pleasant surprise. Although it was flurrying just a little bit last night. It's kind of pretty, actually. The lagoon behind me is actually frozen for the most part. There's just one tiny opening where the seagull and the osprey and the ducks kind of gather around that one spot. I'm guessing they're searching not for home like Colton Lee, but for food. Hoping now some of those fish would pop up. All right. So lots of cell structures going on here, around here as well, galactic in effect almost, and I love what this is doing, this ribbon effect that I created here. Breaking off and going into the mesh here, which I think will be intriguing when all's said and done. Another galactic effect here with some wisps, some grays and silvers popping through, lacing is going on, very flowing sort of form here out into the universe, and that's actually real pretty. Let me just wipe my hands just a little bit. I want to torch it just to get rid of some of the bubbles. All right. Getting some, I do see some more cells forming, but as we infuse those prepared syringes that I have, I think they will no longer be. But that's okay. I'm not going to stretch it because I am infusing some colors. And I'm tempted, actually, I prepared this real huge syringe, and in it I included the pearlescent white. I brought in some of the colors that I mentioned before, the blue, the novel romance, some of that lemon green effect, a little bit of orange, and I think I might have put a hint of the baby blue in there as well, lemon zinger. Let's see. Let's create our own dust bowl. I'm going to go in and just infuse. Creating chaos. Go in and just infuse, pushing down. I'm going to go a little heavy on this. Trying to find some happiness. destroyed. I think this canvas is going to say, uh-oh, yeah, no, I'm not playing today. I think I may try something similar. Oh, this is actually quite pretty. I love how that blue popped out here with the lemon and the novel romance. Kind of pearlescent is intermingling and playing nicely with that romance and the blue. There is a little bit of romance in, a hint of romance in the Time Detective, excuse me, with Martian Bellows. And it's really very well done. It's not placed there just as an afterthought. There is a reasoning to that creative mind of Mark Carnelley. All right, I want to pop a few more of the air bubbles. I don't want to stretch it yet. All right, again, I'm just creating chaos. And you see how this holds up to the test of time. If you want to find out what happens to Colton, if he does find that place called home in a world there appears there is no safe place to go home or to be home. All right, I want to tilt it just a little bit just to see what happens. As I said, there is an awful lot of paint here and I'm trying to keep it in place, but I don't necessarily want to destroy it all. I love the interplay of the white and black on this canvas. There's some beautiful striations and some lacing going on. Total chaos. And imagining if that happened in the world, and we wake up to find a world that is no longer. I'm guessing we'd be looking for a place called home. Again, there's some mesh peeking through, and that's fine. As I said, I was going for a very different effect here. I'm not going to resin this. I had thought originally I might, but this canvas is so heavy with all that's going on right now, between the mesh and the copious amount of paint that I've used so far. It's rather heavy. All right, let me find another pair of gloves. Let's take it to another level and see what happens. And if my canvas is going to say, okay, we can do that, or it's going to implode. I'm not sure. Happy little accidents. I don't really want too many of those this morning with this piece. Again, based on Mark Carnelley's novel, specifically the Omega Chronicles. Although again, I recommend you pick up the Time Detective. All right, so I'm taking my syringe, the one with the real sharp needle on it, and it does have an opening. And I want to introduce just underneath, just to see what happens. Oh, nothing is happening. Interesting. You know what? We're going to do this. Or not. Oh, tell me it clogged. What happened? Bear with me. I fear that it that needle must have clogged up when I tested it. Just going under the paint with it. There we go. Huh. I like this. It has an aura almost around it with some cell structure going on. And here I have some beautiful boulder cells. I'm going to pop a few. Oh, that green is showing up beautifully. The intermingle of the black and the yellow is creating a green effect that surrounds it, surrounding some of the boulders and some of the cells, catching that green with an outer, on the outer part of it, the diameter is retaining a blue hint, and it's popping through. I actually want to introduce, I'm going to see if this is working. Nope. My needle is not working, and I'm not sure why that is. So, I'm going to infuse some orange. Looking for a world. Imagine the galaxy is so vast that perhaps we can find a place called home. Let's help Colton do that. I actually want to introduce some of the orange here. Try to balance it out a little bit, although they're not necessarily going for balance here. I want to introduce some more. And just a tad here. I'm going to blow out some bubbles. Natural cells are forming as I torch it. Then blow it out and then torch. Lots of bubbles in this one. And again, that mesh is peeking through, and that's okay. I'm going for a chaotic mess, sort of. I don't think I want to use the silver, but I do want to introduce the green, and this is actually working. So I'm going to use the syringe part just to see. Just a hint of that green. The syringe is just introducing it underneath the paint that's already there. I'm going to introduce it under that mesh. And actually just, well, my chaos. But let's add some greenery. The needle just completely broke off. And that's what happened there. So let me tilt it just a little bit. I don't want to tilt too much because I actually like the chaotic effect that's happening. Needles are not working, so this is not getting a good review from me. I'm introducing some blue, baby blue, just underneath the paint that's already there, and see what happy little accidents happen. The interplay of those colors. We're out on our discovery, just like Colton and that great book I talked about, the Omega Chronicles. A little much on that side, but let me see. Totally different. There is chaos, for sure. No, these bottles are not working well. Just going in with a little blue, infusing it. Just beneath that paint, there is an awful lot of paint here, as I said. I'm just going over the netting or the mesh, just to see what happens. I'm liking the boulders that are created on the outer part. And here, it's quite pretty. There is a ring around, like that baby blue ring going around a gray, and it almost has a creature in the center. It's really pretty. I don't know if the camera will capture it, but I will take you in for a close-up just to see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that the canvas holds up. I will be tilting, probably more than I had thought. But I'm gonna pop some more bubbles first. My chaotic end of the world as we know it. And kind of, I don't know, sort of makes sense to me because we are surrounded with such beautiful colors. My torch has run out, so I have to stop. I'll go in and use my heat gun. We have so many beautiful colors in our world. And so I'm wondering if there were such a catastrophe, cataclysmic event, what happens to those beautiful colors in our universe? I don't know. Just thinking. Just sit and think. It's a line from A Raisin in the Sun, which is one of my ultimate favorite plays, written by Lorraine Hansberry, translated into movies. Quite a few actors have played Walter Lee from that play by Lorraine Hansberry. But in my opinion, no one compared to Sidney Poitier, who is Walter Lee Unger in that. If you haven't caught it, I really urge you to do so. I know that, I believe it was Danny Glover, and there was another remake that I can't think who that was. But if you're going to watch or appreciate plays that have been turned into movies, like Tennessee Williams, Oscar Wilde, yes, Edgar Allan Poe, not plays, but many of his stories, then A Raisin in the Sun is one you might wish to grab. But in the meantime, make sure you're grabbing the Time Detective and follow Marshall Bellows in that crime fighter. Find out if he discovers and captures that perverted serial killer. And then grab the Omega Chronicles by Carnelley and find out what happens with Hilton Lee. You know, as hard as some days may be, kind of have to try to remember that sometimes it is those difficult times that can bring about some greater growth in our lives. Very chaotic, and I know the mesh is going to continue to pop up. I do want to bring you in for a close-up and see a little bit of what's going on in our dust bowl. I apologize, but just getting comfortable. Yes, the mesh is peeking through the center, or actually the lower quadrant, or third. And I'm okay with that because it's balancing out as it goes around the outer part of the canvas. Our dust bowl has created an explosion and implosion of colors that were originally found in the trees and the floras and the fauna and just general the environment. I hope life treats you well. Be good to one another. See you later.